Hello, everyone. My name is Lainey. I'm from here in Charleston, and I graduated from Eastern with my undergrad in 2018, and I plan to graduate with my master's this December. I have two brothers, a brother and a stepbrother. My brother lives in Southern Illinois and works as a police officer, and my stepbrother lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and works for dairy farmers. Let's see. When I graduate, I'm not entirely sure what I want to do within dietetics, but eventually I think I'd like to work with individuals who suffer from eating disorders, like in whether that be in a specific facility for that or just a hospital that can manage and handle that. Just anything. It just really is a topic that interests me. My favorite food is pizza with ham and pineapple. And my favorite thing to do is to travel. This summer, I actually spent time in Denver. One of my good friends just moved out there, and we spent time hiking and just exploring downtown Denver. And then we took a family trip to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and just spent time on the water. And then finally, I actually just got back from a family trip to Eminence, Missouri, where we spent the weekend kayaking. And then I'm hoping my next trip will be to Seattle to visit another friend that just moved out there for work. So moving on with the leadership discussion. To me, what it means to be a leader and the characteristics and qualifications of a leader. Well, first of all, I believe this is someone who can be trusted. And by that, I mean someone who I know has my best interest at heart, as well as, the best interest of everyone involved, like someone who's going to do their best to make the best possible outcome for everyone, if that makes sense. Someone who can expect the unexpected. Whenever problems arise, it's generally not something that they went into work thinking, oh, I bet this is going to break today, or that this is going to happen, or so-and-so is going to not show up for work. Someone who can be prepared to handle the unexpected. Next, I believe this is someone who is patient and understanding. I think that just benefits everyone involved, whereas if you're, working for someone who is not patient and not understanding, it's just going to be a very tense work environment and not good. Next up, this is something that I believe is a big one. Someone who is willing to teach and to lead by example. Because as a leader, I feel as though you are the person who, is responsible for teaching people. Like if I show up to work and I'm assigned a task that I've never done before or, never been trained on, I'm going to go to the person in charge and expect that they can, lead me in the right direction and kind of guide me and teach me so that I can do that task more often and in the future without, issues. Next, someone who realizes that there's something to learn every single day. I think that's probably the most important to me, because as a follower, again, I don't want to walk into work under someone who just believes they know everything and that this is how it is, this is how it's always been, this is how it's always going to be. I believe that if, with a work environment like that, there's no progress is going to be made and, nothing's going to evolve, and that's also not good. And finally, someone who's just very approachable. Again, as a follower, the minute a problem arises, I want a leader who I can go up to and just say, hey, here's what's going on. What should I do? Can you help me? What's the next step? And they are willing to talk and help me. Whereas if they're not approachable, my first instinct is going to be, how can I solve this without going to them? How can I fix this without their help or asking them? And I think we all know that's probably not a good idea. So my first personal example of leadership is from a follower standpoint. I work at a hospital in the kitchen, helping to put together the tray line. And so this is kind of actually something that I found interesting when I was brainstorming, things to talk about for personal examples. I work on the tray line, like I said, and we have tray starters, which is what I do, cart runners who they take the trays up to the patients once they're completed, people that work out in the cafeteria with customers, and then cooks. And so those would be my peers while at work. And then our leader would be the kitchen coordinator who, they're the person that we go to with questions, comments, concerns, hey, we're out of this. Hey, this isn't working. Anything that might come up, they're our go-to person. But it kind of got me thinking during the daytime, so I work in the evenings, and because of that, no supervisors are usually there, hence why the coordinator is our leader. But those coordinators work half of their shift during the day and then the second half in the evening. So during the day, they're kind of the middleman. They have, they're people they're tray starters, they're cart runners, they're cafeteria workers, and then they also have their supervisors, which is their leader. So it's kind of interesting because you've got, the different levels there, whereas at nighttime it's just, us and our leader. And so, like I said, that's who we go to with, this is broken, this is lost, we don't have any more of this, and they, do what they can in their power to, help you find what's missing, help you fix what's broken, call maintenance, whatever they need to do. Whereas during the day, they're going to go to their supervisors and say, hey, we're out of this. When is the next truckload coming in? And that's, their leader's job is to order the new. So it's kind of cool to see the different, layers of that. But anyway, like I said, I work in the evening time, and our coordinator is the person we go to for anything. They're the person that dismisses us or assigns us our different tasks. And it's kind of, again, interesting because it's not always the same coordinator every night. You have 2 or 3 that it cycles between. And so it's interesting to see that they all have a little bit of a different, leadership style and just a way of handling things. We have one coordinator who she's very relaxed and just, handles whatever it throws at her, makes her phone calls, contacts who she needs to contact to get whatever problem it is resolved. And then there's another one who, she's a little bit more tense, and that's okay. But she kind of strikes me as a little bit less approachable because you don't know how she's going to react to what you have to say. And it's one of those situations where you maybe want to try to solve the problem on your own before asking for help. My next example is leadership from the standpoint of the leader. I work at a bar on campus, Marty's, and I am a shift manager there. So we have our general manager, and then we have 4 or 5 student managers, which is what I do, and then you have your bartenders, barbacks, and security. And so whenever I'm working, I go in at 7 o'clock, and I have 1 bartender, and then the rest of my staff comes in at 10 or 11, and my job is basically to set up for the night, assign everyone where they're going to be at, like what door, what register, what they need to do, whenever they arrive, like, hey, I'm going to have you cut these limes up, I'm going to have you wipe these bottles down, I'm going to have you set up this station. Kind of just learning to delegate, I guess, that's the first thing. And then I am their go-to person, kind of how I mentioned at the hospital, the coordinator. That's basically what I am whenever through the night. And this is just such a unique situation because it's a college bar, it's fast-paced, you never really know what to expect. I've had nights where it's very busy and you get everyone out of the bar at 2 o'clock in the morning and the sink's broken off the bathroom wall and it's flooding and the police are outside for we don't know why. And I am that go-to person. So the sink's broken off the wall. It's my job to figure out how we're going to stop the flooding for the night until my GM can get there in the morning or until he can call maintenance to get there later that night. So that can be a little bit stressful, but it's also, a very unique situation. Aside from that, there's also very, quiet nights there where it's, hey, I need you to clean this. I'm going to work on the register, and can you mop the floor? Just, again, basically delegating. And then, at the end of the night, I'm the person that's in charge of counting the money and assigning everyone their tips that they made, and just making sure that the registers are in check and that the deposit can go in the safe. And going back to what I said at the beginning, someone who's trustworthy. We are college students. You never know what you're getting whenever you have a staff full of college students, and so they are very careful to try to pick people they can trust because they're giving them codes to their safes, codes to the bar in general, just the codes, the locks, the keys. So that's a kind of hefty responsibility. But yeah, as far as that goes, I'm pretty comfortable being in the leadership role there because I worked there as just a bartender and not a manager for a year or two before I started managing. And so I kind of saw how everything worked, and, it built up my confidence. And so now whenever a problem does occur, I kind of know, I have an idea of what I'm doing, what needs to be done, who I need to call, where I need to go, things like that. Whereas at the hospital, I would not be comfortable being that leader. I've worked there for over 2 years now, and I feel like I don't know enough about everyone's job to be able to lead all of them. I know, the 2 jobs that I've done. I know the tray starter, and I know the cafeteria side. So I think that it's very dependent upon where you're at and what you're doing as to whether, at least for me personally, as to whether I'm more comfortable as a leader or a follower. And again, I know it was mentioned in the directions, it's necessary to have both. If everyone's a leader, you're going to run into problems right away. If everyone's a follower, you're not going to have someone to lead you to that next level or to that next step or to get through that shift, whatever it is. So I agree that both are very important, and I think it's just very dependent upon, where you're at and what you're doing. My final example is from, I would say, more of the leadership side, but a little bit of a follower as well. I have a GA position in the Print and Copy Center on campus. So I have a supervisor, and then it's me, and then the student workers. So again, I'm kind of that middleman. So if my supervisor is there, which generally he is, he's the one that everyone answers to. He's the one that says, I need you to make deliveries. I need you to laminate this. And I kind of am just in charge of, my own stuff over here. Whereas if he is gone for the day or out sick, I'm the person they answer to. I'm the person that says, John left this for us, so I'm going to have you deliver this and you do this, and I'll work on this. But again, that's a situation where I don't think I would be comfortable being the leader all the time. Those days that I am in charge, my boss generally leaves me, enough to know what needs done and what needs assigned. And so it sets me up for success, which, again, is another thing that's very, very necessary from both a leader and a follower standpoint. So to kind of sum this up, I think the main things that I've learned from these experiences, the biggest is that communication is key. It will always be key. If you can't communicate with one another, you're probably not going to get too far. And that kind of goes back to being approachable. If you aren't someone that can be approached, people aren't going to want to communicate with you. So I think that's something I try to keep in mind when working at the bar and at the print center. Be someone that others are comfortable coming to, and someone that's going to listen and be kind and understanding, and that's going to get you farther than, someone who's just not so approachable. And as I mentioned before, another big thing is to delegate. You know how to do all these things, but you don't have the time to do all of them. That's why you have additional staff and helpers. So learning to delegate, like I said before, hey, I'm going to have you run these deliveries out while I count these tips, and then we'll get out faster and everything will get done, better. So I think those are the two main things. Other than that, just being patient. And then from a follower standpoint, it's always important to help out where you can, to be willing to learn, and to just, if your work is done, reaching out and saying, hey, how can I help? Or what needs done here that I can do? Just anything like that. So I look forward to expanding my knowledge on this topic and to, building my further leadership skills this semester with all of you.